The process of offering on a home when you're trying to purchase can get extremely difficult and convoluted if you don't know exactly what you're doing or how the process is supposed to flow. So today I'm going to go over a page from my Informed Buyer's Guide that will hopefully help you understand the offer process because, well, it's really stressful when you're trying to buy a home. You don't understand exactly what's going on. And in an effort to educate you about my local market of Surrey and the Fraser Valley, I put out videos like this one. So please subscribe to the channel and make sure you click the like button to help me get this information out to more people so more people can be educated about the procedure of purchasing a home. And this is simply just a page or information from within my Informed Buyer's Guide. And if you would like access to that guide, you can download it right now using the link down below in the description of this video. So without any further ado, let's help you understand a little bit more about the process of offering on a property. Starting off, obviously, with the search, you got to start looking for a home. So let's talk about searching for a property. People search for properties online in a billion different ways. A lot of people just search themselves. Some people have their agents set up a search criteria for you. Personally, when I'm looking for a property online, as a consumer, not as a real estate agent, I don't want to be bothered with all the crap that doesn't fit exactly what I'm looking for. So ideally, if you're searching for a property, you should have your agent set you up with your criteria. And then those listings will automatically, as soon as they pop onto the MLS, your agent will be notified and you will be notified at the exact same time. The only problem with this type of search is usually it's your criteria. So for instance, if you're looking for a 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom apartment and one pops up and it's 999 square feet, you're not going to see it. So your search needs to be a little bit open-ended, but hopefully at the same time, it's not so open-ended that you're overwhelmed by the amount of listings. There's something like 7,800 active listings in the marketplace. You don't want to filter through all of those, so you're really going to have to narrow it down. I like to leave it a little bit open-ended, my search, but you should likely go through that with your agent. And just, this is totally a side note, but when I do work with my own clients, we will do a needs analysis ahead of time. The first step of searching for a property should not be seeing a property with your agent. It should be sitting down with your agent and putting together a plan and helping them understand exactly what it is you're looking for. Don't just say to your agent, show me some good properties, because then you're going to see what they think are good properties. You're looking for good properties for you. Step number 2, we're going to set up some showings. People often don't understand how showings work, and it drives me absolutely crazy. A showing should go something like this. Your agent should do the work for you. Don't say that, oh, my agent's busy, I'm going to go see it myself. Don't do that. If that's your agent, if they're too busy to show you properties, get a new agent. Get an agent that is going to be in the properties with you, help advising you through the whole process. They're going to point out things that you don't know about and different forms of construction. There's all these different things that they can help you with, as well as keeping that layer of, I guess what you would call an arm's length transaction. They want to not have you talking directly to the seller or the seller's agent because you might say something that's going to put you in a negative negotiating position. So consider that. A viewing should go something like this. You say, hey, these are the properties I want to see. Mr. or Mrs. Agent, do you think there are any other properties I want to see? You let the agent set up the time. You meet them at the property. They open up. And you hopefully have private time within the property, just you and your agent. Sometimes the listing agent will show up. It's super awkward when that happens. I hate it when the listing agent shows up. I don't want it to happen because then my client doesn't feel comfortable telling me what they do or do not like about the home. Now, a viewing is going to be, apartments can be 5 to 10 minutes or sometimes even less. A long viewing on a property is 15 to 20 minutes, unless it's a massive acreage or unless, I don't know, you're super duper serious about this one particular property. But when you're viewing a property, my thought is you should get in, you should take a look. You know, if it's a no, just leave. If it's a no, there's no point in checking out the cupboard space or the storage under the stairs if you don't like the kitchen or if you don't like the price in the first place. So try and narrow it down and don't spend a ton of time in properties that you absolutely know you're not going to like. Next up, you're going to come down here and you're going to start writing the offer. Now, hopefully you know a whole lot what to expect with your agent. and presenting your offer. There's so many different terms and conditions that can be put into your offer. I definitely recommend these are conversations you need to have, again, before the viewings even start. You need to talk about dates. If you're in a lease, if you're a first-time buyer, what your financing looks like. Your agent has to do this so they can help you craft the best offer to try and get accepted by the seller. Now, in today's market, it happens to be a slower marketplace. Price might be much more negotiable than it was in the past. But in previous markets, when the market was crazy, you had to craft your offer so it was absolutely perfect, because otherwise it wouldn't even get a second look from the seller. And well, then you end up without the house and it gets super, super frustrating. Then we have three possible outcomes. So let's say you write the offer and you are all ready to go. Well, realistically, when you write the offer, the seller can completely reject the offer, they can counter the offer, or they can accept. A lot of sellers do reject offers. It's a silly strategy. It shouldn't be done. I always say to all my sellers, no matter how offended you are at that price, always counter. Always put something back on paper. Even if it was the same number you just put on paper the last time, always put something on paper. Even if it's your full asking price, you're not going to budge a penny. You have to start the negotiation somewhere, and you can't be upset if a buyer like yourself does decide to try and offer less. Like, it's a negotiation. Obviously, they're not just going to give you all the money that they want. So you should always, in my estimation, if you want the property, you should always counter. But if you're a seller, you should always for sure counter. So reject can happen. People get offended. That's why we're here as agents, to try and stop people from getting offended. If it was sellers and buyers dealing with each other directly all the time, nothing but offense would happen. But you could then also possibly counter an offer. Then the process can happen again all over. If you counter an offer, they could reject the counter offer. Or in this case, if they're countering the offer to you, you can reject the offer. Again, I don't recommend, if you're serious about the property, ever rejecting an offer. You should counter. You should always say, that's cute, even if I think you're nuts and your price doesn't work or your dates don't work or whatever. Put it back on paper. Say, this is the counter that I have for you. And then, of course, you can have acceptance. Acceptance means that everybody comes to terms and everybody's happy with the sale. Everybody's happy with the terms in the contract. Now, acceptance does not necessarily mean the home is sold. Acceptance can have a few different levels of exactly what that means. Let me show you exactly why that is. Most offers, if it's not a hot market, most offers are going to have some sort of conditions, or what we call here in Surrey, in the Fraser Valley, and across BC, subjects. Often, financing is a condition. So yes, you are pre-approved with your bank, but they have only looked at your income documents and your credit and all that stuff and said, you qualify for about this much money. Now, there's going to be final steps of verification. They're probably going to do employment verification. They're going to do all these extra steps to verify the information you gave them is 100% correct. But they're also now going to verify that the home is worth what you're paying for it through some sort of an appraisal. So you can't just go offer $1 million on a $500,000 condo because that's how fraud can happen, and they don't want that to happen. So there is going to be a financing condition. Now, you could waive this condition if you are all cash, or if you're firm enough possibly in knowing that you can afford it. But in a market like this one, particularly, not recommended. Most folks these days are going to also conduct an inspection. There are folks that don't conduct inspections. Again, this is the risk level of the buyer. I always say you should always have an inspection performed. Now, when you're doing an inspection, at this time, you're not looking for little piddly things in renegotiation. There may be an opportunity for renegotiation, but ideally you're looking for big deal breakers. You want to make your offer based on what you already know about the home. You're not going to try and renegotiate on something you already know. If you're going to renegotiate, it's only on things you did not know. So you should know, for instance, that most shower walls are rotten in an inspection. You should know that in advance of writing your offer. You would know that if you're working with a good agent. You might not like that I said that, but trust me, most shower walls, your shower wall at home is probably also rotten if it's tile. You're going to verify the title. Now, there is some further due diligence that does get done, and that's going to fall down here in regards to due diligence and miscellaneous items. You are going to have all sorts of disclosures about the property. You may want to get the property insured. These are all due diligence checks that you need to do before removing your condition. And the reason I put miscellaneous conditions are here, it could be anything. It could be subject to legal advice, accounting advice. It could be subject to the septic field getting changed or checked out if you're not on a sewer, right? There's so many different conditions that could come into play here. So this is basically the due diligence period after acceptance. A lot of buyers do too much due diligence in advance of even presenting their offer, and then they don't come to terms on price. So if you do that, you're wasting so much time. Come to terms on price and dates and then do your due diligence, not the other way around, unless the market is so busy that you cannot get your offers accepted with conditions. Then your property or your offer becomes unconditional. Unconditional means sold. So if you're happy with all of those conditions, then you remove them. Or maybe you didn't do any of your due diligence and you just wrote a firm offer anyway. Now here in BC, there's a whole nother issue with that with the buyer rescission period, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. For this video, I'm going to assume that you offered on the property, you did your due diligence, then you have somewhere between 5 and maybe 10 days to remove your conditions and say, yes, indeed, it's sold. That is what we call here subject removal. Subject removal is also when the deposit gets paid. Okay, so you have to understand you have to remove your conditions in writing. If you don't go unconditional, if you don't remove your conditions, the deal just dies and you're gone. Sometimes you may have to prove if you're not removing a condition for why, because you have to do it in good faith. But often if there's a condition and it never gets removed, the deal is just done and there's often no recovering that deal. So after unconditional, you're going to, at some point in time, have to go ahead and sign a whole lot of documents. Now, there is a time to sign documents. And when I mean sign documents, you have to now sign with the lender. Like you're going to get a hand cramp. Unless it's maybe sign online, but you're going to go with your mortgage broker or go to the bank and you're going to sign all your commitment letters and all of these different things. Then you're going to have a whole nother set of documents to sign with the lawyer. The lawyer is going to convey the title. They're going to take the title at land title and take it from the seller's name into your name. The lawyers do that, but you got to sign a whole bunch of documents in order to do that. Now, some of the documents you sign with the bank might be only a few days after you remove your conditions, but your move-in date might not be for 3 months. The signed documents with the lawyers or the appointment with the lawyers is probably going to be on the completion date or maybe even the day or two before. It's going to be a big gap in between there because most completions are 60 to 90 days. So it's 2 to 3 months in between going unconditional and likely getting all of the signing docs. And then the last step obviously is to move in. Kind of. There is a little bit of a, I guess you would call a caveat to that. Here in BC, we have both completion, possession, and adjustment dates. So completion is the day the money changes hands with the lawyers. The lawyers take your mortgage money and your down payment. They give it to the seller's lawyers. And then at that time, they also change the title from the seller's name to your name. But then we have a possession day. Most of the time in BC, it's 2, 3, or 4 days different or apart. The reason for that is so the dominoes can fall and the next person can complete on their property and move. So it is a bit of a process, and getting that part right is crucial in your purchase. Maybe not so much if you're living with mom and dad, but if you're selling a place and buying a new place, that between completion and possession is super, super important. And then possession is actually the same day usually as adjustments. Adjustments is the day that the finances are adjusted for. So even though you own the property on a Wednesday, there's still Thursday and Friday before you get keys. the old owner is still going to adjust or pay for instance, the taxes for the property at that time, or at least until that date. So there you go. This information and a whole lot more is available in my Informed Buyer's Guide, easily downloaded in any one of my videos, including this one, right down below in the description. And remember that if you need help and don't exactly understand everything I've presented to you here today, well, you can book a call with me right now using the link in the description below at a time that works best for you. Thank you so much for subscribing, and we'll see you in a couple of days.